Welcome to the Teaching Change podcast, where we explore issues of social entrepreneurship, education, and innovation. I'm your host, Jared Calicay. On today's episode, we've got a special in-studio audience, along with some wonderful guests. We're going to be talking about pursuing your passion. My guests today, I'll have them introduce themselves in a moment, but my guests today are all part of a radio and podcasting class that's being taught for the first time here at Valencia College. So without further ado, Todd, would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Todd. Like he said, I'm a Valencia College student checking out this class and learning the ways of anything they'll let me learn the ways of, and excited to do it.
Okay. And Todd, do you have a last name?
Bernard. Todd Bernard. I do, yes. I just got it the other day.
That's nice.
They mailed me a last name finally. It took them 35
great.
years.
Yeah, I had to wait for mine for a while, too.
Yeah, it happens.
Awesome. Very cool. Thank you, Todd.
Yes.
Hi, how's it going? I'm Rocky Manfreda. I'm also a student here at Valencia College. I'm a journalism major, and I'm very excited to be a part of this radio program. My goal is to have my own sports talk radio show one day and write for a paper.
Nice. Very cool.
My name is Tatiana, and I am also a Valencia student here, if you can kind of recognize the trend going on. I took this class because I think making a podcast would be cool, spread some knowledge around. It's always kind of been my biggest thing.
All right. And Tatiana, what is your last name?
Fritz.
Fritz. Fantastic. Well, thank you all. So today's topic is particularly relevant to social entrepreneurs in that they're, again, as we talked about last week in class, they're folks that are pursuing their passion, and they're pursuing not only creating monetary wealth for themselves and creating wealth, as all entrepreneurs do, but they're also creating social value. And so they're conquering major serious issues and major problems. And so at part of that, you have to have passion. There's no way you can do it in isolation thereof. And so today I was really interested in talking with you all because you're doing just that in your own way of taking this radio and podcasting class. This is the very first time Valencia has ever had the course here. And I mean, obviously podcasting is becoming a bigger and bigger deal in the world of media in general. But I'm really interested to find out why take the course and what does it even look like? Can you describe it to us?
Yeah. What the course looks like? Well, I mean, like you said, it's new. We're getting into it. We're here. We're in a studio right now. That's exciting. So we're basically just learning mainly the concepts, the theory, the how-tos of interviewing people or researching things or getting all your material together as far as like what to present on air. We're getting all that together. And personally, I'm into live stuff, anything that's happening live, anything with the red light going on. So like that's why I hopped into this. So it's exciting. I've always wanted to be on the radio. This is the first time I've done anything like this, so I can feel like a little bit of sweat coming down on my forehead right now. I'm trying to fight that off. But that actually is what keeps me going personally.
Okay. And now I want to switch to Tatiana. You had kind of mentioned that, why you took the course to begin with, but is it living up to your expectations? And I do know your professor's listening, so you'll have to be a little careful, but
just a little bit.
Yeah.
I think I came in expecting being thrown into the mix of things and just kind of like drowning in all this information, but it's being like put forth in a very in a manner that like allows to be digested well.
Okay. So would you say you're being kind of thrown in the deep end, but you've got a life buoy?
I think, yeah, something like that.
Okay. All right. So it's not overwhelming, but
yeah.
But it is a little bit outside your comfort zone.
Yeah. Definitely.
Okay. And Rocky, what about you? You mentioned sports.
Yes, sir.
So when you were putting together, your class schedule, and you saw this, did you immediately think, oh, this could lead to a sports show, or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That was the main motivation behind taking it, without a doubt, is using it as a stepping stone to try to help further my career. So, and like to add on what like Tatiana said, yeah, it felt like we were thrown in the deep end a little bit, but David Hasselhoff was the lifeguard. So
nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, it's been a little bit of a challenge, but it's definitely something that I feel like I've been picking up a lot quicker than I ever thought I could. So
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's the best way to learn too, I think. Get thrown in, get nervous, just feel that pressure. I think that's, you're not going to forget what you're picking up that way. I don't know, for me anyway. I think that's a good way to do it.
Nah,
Just
yeah.
toss us in the water. No, actually, Pamela Anderson was my lifeguard, but you know, I was
Hey,
fortunate.
no
in that way.
judgments here. No judgments here. So when we talk about this course and podcasting, do you all currently have your own podcast?
No, not yet, but it's been in the back of my mind.
Okay, so Todd's no. Rocky?
As a matter of fact, yeah, I do right here on at Valencia College Radio. My co-host Nick Frasone and I, we host a show called On the Clock, and it's Valencia College Radio's only show dedicated specifically to the NFL draft. And what we do on that is each episode we go through each division in the NFL. We profile all 4 teams. What are their biggest needs? What can they all do to try to improve themselves? And then we also do a lot of like top 10 lists that are pretty fun, like, you know, who were the biggest busts in the draft, or who were the guys that maybe you thought weren't going to be very good but ended up being very good. So yeah, it's a nice mixture of everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, nice. And how long have you been doing it?
Well, actually, today was just our second episode, but
But it's going well so far.
yeah, this show has been in my mind for about 5 or 6 years now. So
Nice,
yeah.
nice. Good on you for going for it. Tatiana, what about yourself?
Well, I don't have one right now, but I'd like to start working on one with a friend of mine in the class.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Do any friend particular, or are you just all the whole class is your friends, and so whoever's willing?
Well, I like to think that the whole class is my friend, but
We
no,
are.
the
We are.
one-
We're all friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, but definitely one friend in particular.
Okay.
She's actually sitting right there.
Oh, hey, how you doing? Yeah, you can't see her. She's not on the camera. She's incognito. Oh,
It's
there-
John
there's-
Give them a wave. Yeah, maybe they can see over there. She's right there.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
There's 2. There we go.
All right. And what is your name?
Angie.
Angie's the friend that's going to be creating a podcast with Tatiana. Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
Sorry, I'm just interchanging. Hi, I also have a radio show. Thank you. Goodbye.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Well then.
So we've got a lot of people in the studio, which is really exciting and fun. I'd like to talk a little bit about kind of pursuing your passion. And you know, we talk about passion a lot, I think, in society at some level. You know, follow your passions. You'll never work. You know, if you love your job, you'll never work a day in your life. You ever hear that? And those kinds of things. But so rarely do people actually truly follow their passions and actually follow through with it. And I think one of the reasons why they don't is because they're afraid. They're afraid of failing. They're afraid of not making it in the world. They're afraid of not making enough money. They have some responsibilities that they're not able to, you know, that they just can't, right? So for you all, obviously podcasting is a newer thing in your lives. You're taking a course on it and so forth, and you have passions that align with the podcast that you want to bring to it, like Rocky or sports and so forth. But in addition to that, I want you to think back to another time in your life in which you pursued a passion of yours, and you did something that made you uncomfortable, but in the end, it turned out to be okay. So what's a time in which you pursued a passion of yours? Could be from grade school or could be most recent, whatever you'd like. But when's a time where you threw caution to the wind? You said, "I'm going to do it."
I was early on. I was in bands growing up. I played bass. I was in a number of different bands, and that I spent a lot of my time getting better, practicing. And I remember the idea of playing a show came up, and I seemed to be the only one that wasn't too nervous about it because it was just like, let's just go and do this thing. And I still feel that way now about, you know, other things, but passion-wise, it's just everything seems so big when you look at it on the surface. Like, oh, I can't do this thing, you know, can't be this huge star or whatever. No, you could be, you know, especially now, anybody could be with the internet. I mean, you know, come on, you could be a YouTube influencer, and all of a sudden people know who you are. You know, you could be anything. You can be anything. Everybody should believe that from an early age. And I grew up around a lot of naysayers. I tuned them out, and I am gonna be something someday.
All right.
I know
What
it's
is?
still-
Do you know what that is? Do you know
I
what that
don't
something
even know
is?
exactly what that is yet, but it's going to be something.
It'll be great.
Maybe it's starting right this minute. So
I think it is.
This,
I
this
feel
could
it.
be it.
I
I
feel
feel
it.
it too.
Good. That's awesome. Tatiana, Rocky, what do you guys think? What's a time in which you just threw caution to the wind and you went for it?
I mean, that's at least half my life.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Well, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a paleontologist.
Okay.
And a lot of kids my age didn't even know what that was.
Yeah,
And
I'm not really sure I know what that is. Can you help me out?
paleontology is the study of dinosaurs and
Oh, that's pretty
fossils and
cool.
all that cool stuff.
Yeah, I knew what that was. I just want to make sure our audience knew.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah, looking out for them.
And I remember like a lot of adults were like, "Oh, yeah, that's adorable, big words." And I was like, "Yeah."
Those adults, they just knock you down, don't they?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's awful.
Parents don't understand.
No.
They still don't.
So you you didn't allow it to sway you from the paleontology?
Oh no. Like even now, it's more anthropology now, which is
Okay.
the study of human stuff.
Oh, okay.
But a time I threw caution to the wind was I went to the museum one time, the Museum of Natural History, and I actually ran into one of the offices and I started talking with one of the people who work there about all this dinosaur stuff, and they're like, "Where are your parents?"
That's awesome. So you're like, this was in DC?
No, New York.
Oh, New York. Okay. So
Yeah.
you're in New York. You're at the museum.
I'm
There's
like 9 years old.
9 years old, and you're like, I'm going to make a go for it.
Yeah.
And just ran to an office.
No, yeah, I wanted a job right then and there.
But they didn't give you a job.
No, I didn't have the qualifications.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough to get qualifications at 9.
Age being one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, how did you duck your parents? I mean, how did you get rid of your parents so you could run into this office?
I'm a known runner.
Oh, okay. All right. Good. Good.
I disappear a lot, and it's kind of a problem sometimes, but also kind of an adventure. I like to think of it like that.
Okay. All right. It's good. Good to know. Good to
Yeah.
know. Especially for your new co-host of your podcast. Now she knows you disappear sometimes. So, and then last but not least, what about you, Rocky? What's did you throw caution to the wind with the sports show that you're involved with now, or was that
Yeah.
not that big of a leap? What do you think?
Well, I mean, it was. I think just originally doing it because I ended up being like I was a maintenance guy for like 10 years, and and I'm very proud of my time in that field. It's just not what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. My original plan was I was going to be an NFL Hall of Fame player, and if that didn't work out, I was going to be the greatest intercontinental champion in wrestling history.
Yeah, there you go.
Neither one of them worked out, unfortunately. But when I was 11 years old, I'm originally from the Washington, D.C. area, and at the time, the head coach of the Redskins was Norv Turner. He used to host a weekly show, and this restaurant that my father and I would go to quite often every Sunday, he was filming an episode of his show in that restaurant, and I actually got to ask him a question live on television, and I got such a good response because we had at the time just hired a new defensive coordinator, and I asked him, are you going to let him come in and call the show, or are you going to stick to the way they do things here traditionally? And he kind of had to stutter over his words for a second, and then the whole crowd was like, whoa, this guy's getting stumped by an 11-year-old. And just the very next day, like all my friends and teachers at school and everything were telling me about it. So I think that's what planted the seed. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the root.
That's the root.
That's where it
yeah.
started. Huh?
Yeah.
And then it went dormant for a little while, and now you're back.
Yep. I'm back, and
Nice.
I'm better than ever.
Okay.
Only going to get better.
Awesome. What do you? My next question is for all of you. What do you think is a reason why people don't follow their dreams or follow their passions? Like, what is it? Is it just something in their character? They just don't have the ability, or what do you think? it is?
They don't get enough support, honestly,
Okay.
especially from people older than them. Because there are so many people that didn't make it, didn't try, they're working jobs they hate. They just don't want to. So many people are bitter in that way. They don't want to support people. It's unbelievable. I think there's almost a movement happening now. Maybe it is because of the internet, where that's kind of changing to where people are kind of being told to believe and to actually try to get somewhere. But I think that's the biggest reason. There's just not enough support, especially for the kids. You know, they need to hear that they can do it, no matter how ridiculous it might seem. He wanted to be the greatest intercontinental champion. Me too.
Yeah.
I should have gone for that. You know,
Yeah.
but too many people are like, you can't be any kind of champion. What's wrong with you? You know, so
You guys could have been tag team champions.
we could have been tag team
we could
champions
have.
together.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we had a little bit of support out there. You know, mom and dad. No, I'm
Right.
just kidding. They were great.
Well,
They were great.
the training center's right up the
It
road.
is.
man.
Let's
Maybe
go.
we'll
After
talk
this,
to 'em.
we're gonna go work on our
Yeah,
move
I like
set.
it. I like
I
it.
like it.
Yeah. So yeah, just a lot of people just aren't supporting others, and they should do more of that.
So Todd, you think it's the haters?
I think it's the haters, man.
Okay, all right.
There's too many haters out there, so don't listen to them, everybody. You can be whatever you want.
Okay.
I have to agree with Todd on that one. I feel like misery does love company, and there's people for whatever reasons their lives didn't get to turn out that the way that they anticipated it. So that just tends to become the norm. It seems like I feel like a lot of us are just expected to, you get a job, you do your 9 to 5, whether or not you're miserable about it, that's irrelevant because you need to have your bills paid and you need to have food on the table. But, we're all going to be spending at least a third of our lives working. Why don't we just at least try to do something that we want to do, and if we don't get to do that, then we don't ever have to look back and say we didn't try. So yeah, I definitely agree with him. Is a lot of negativity, but life happens sometimes, and I also feel like people can maybe get a little overwhelmed with it. And but just like what Todd was saying, I think I really like this new mindset and this new attitude of people actually being more ambitious. So.
Yeah, and then last but not least, Tatiana, what do you think? What holds people back?
I think people just get caught up in life, and you get caught up in the 9 to 5. There's not really a lot of time to follow dreams, and I think a lot of people do try to follow their dreams, and that kind of doesn't pan out well because sometimes your dreams is being a rock star, and of course maybe that's not going to pan out. So
I guess we all can't be rock stars, but
I wanted to say that, but
We
I
all
didn't.
can be rock stars. Let's do it.
perhaps we could all be our own type of rock star,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We could carve out a little niche in the world that we could be the rock star in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what as you all kind of look towards the future, what are you hoping for? What are you looking for out of the future? Do you have it all figured out? Are you still working on it, Todd? You mentioned that you were still trying to figure some things out.
Still trying to figure it out, but I'm not going to stop until I get somewhere that I'm happy. That's it. Preferably paid well as well. But it's just it's going to be a nonstop process until something happens to where I can finally sit back and go, okay, I enjoy going to work. I'm passionate about what I'm doing. I wish I could pinpoint that a little bit better. I'm still working on that. They told me when I first started. They're like, you need to figure out something and specialize in it, which is great advice. I'm still working on that. So
All right.
we'll see.
Okay. Good deal.
Definitely. I mean, I have an idea in mind of where I want to go to school after I'm done with Valencia, and I know what I'd like to turn that career into. But yeah, just as long as I'm happy with what I'm doing, that's like the main goal. I want to be. See, there used to be times where it'd be a Saturday, it was my day off, and I couldn't even enjoy myself because I was still mad about something that my boss said to me on Thursday. I want going forward. I want to be able to be on my day off and I'm still like thinking about ways I can make my career better, but I don't feel like I'm, trapped like, what am I going to do to get out of this? But, I just have an idea for my radio show at the time or something like that. Like I just like what you were saying, I don't want to have to maybe feel like I'm at work, but if I am, then I can at least have a good time while I'm doing it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
I think for me, my ultimate goal was always to try to spread some knowledge, some information, try to educate as many people as I can. So I was thinking about being a professor, maybe.
Don't do it. I'm just kidding.
Maybe an elementary teacher. I was also thinking about traveling the world as an archaeologist, because that would be cool. Maybe write a few books, become rich and famous, and then retire at the age of like 32.
Sounds wonderful. I'd like to have retired.
Yeah,
at the
that
age of
would have been
32.
great.
Yeah.
I am 32, so
All right. My last question for you all, as you're currently pursuing your passions or trying to figure out what those are, what words of advice, as Valencia College students yourselves now, what advice would you give to high school students or middle school students or people that are just kind of in a dead end job and they're not very happy? What kind of advice? What would be the first thing you'd tell them that they need to do in order to get on their passion train, so to speak?
I would say figure out what it is that gets you, that makes you happy. Figure out what that thing is and then figure out a way to do that professionally, and then do nothing but that thing. Just figure out and go for that thing. You really try to pinpoint that thing, which is not what I'm doing, but figure out what that thing, even if it's vague. Like if you're like, oh, I kind of like movies where they have dance offs, but I'm not really into dancing. Why do I like those movies so much? Well, maybe it's something about like the thing about to start. Maybe it's the lights coming on. Maybe it's the feeling you get when like the show's about to have. There's some reason why you like that thing, even if you don't even realize that yet. So figure that thing out. And I think something that high school kids need to hear as well is if you don't know, don't go. Don't just go to college. And you go to college for something you like and figure it out and then go. Take a couple years off if you have to, because you're going to get stuck, you're going to hate it, and you're probably not going to graduate. You know, the numbers back that up. So yeah, figure out that thing and do nothing but that thing constantly.
Okay. All right. And it's a little bit easier giving advice than
than
taking
following it?
Yeah,
Right,
once in a while, right? Right.
Build me a time machine. That's my
Yeah.
actual advice.
Good. And Tatiana, what do you think? What would you tell young people or people that are kind of stuck in their lives? What's one thing they can do to get on the path, their own passion train, or to get on the right path?
I'd like to say, first of all, you're never too old or too young to start following your dream. And, for high school students, I would say go to college, even if you don't know exactly what you want to do. Because, in college, you're just going to be exposed to so many different things, and you're going to learn so many new concepts. And for people in jobs that they don't quite like, I feel like, try to find somewhere you fit. Maybe go back to school to find what you like. Maybe try to find a new job that you do like.
Nice. Nice.
One thing I think some advice I'd like to give to younger people is get yourself used to not being satisfied. I feel like that's a strong point to being successful is that you should never get complacent. Once you feel like you've made it, you're gone. That's, how I feel in my opinion. So never be satisfied with the bare minimum. Always keep asking yourself, what can I do to be, what can I be doing to become better? What can I do to improve? And as long as you keep doing that and you work hard and you stay humble, then only good things are going to happen. And, like to touch on like what she was saying, some people don't like their jobs. Ask yourself, what is it about your job that you don't like? Make a lot of lists, weigh out pros and cons, do a lot of thinking. I used to say like in job interviews, when they ask you what your strengths are, and then when they say what are some of your weaknesses, my go-to was like, well, I can be an overthinker, because you're criticizing yourself, but it's like, well, I'd rather have an overthinker than someone who doesn't think at all. But it's true, just overthink.
That's a good answer for that question. I always get stumped on that in job interviews. What are you bad at?
I work too much.
That's
I guess.
that's what everyone says.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
workaholic. You should hire
I'm a
me.
perfectionist.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Thank you guys. Thank you guys very much.
Appreciate it.
Well, you've been listening to the Teaching Change podcast, where we explore issues of social entrepreneurship, education, and innovation. I'm your host, Jared Callique. Today's episode, we are talking about following our passion and pursuing it relentlessly. My guests I want to thank are Todd, Rocky, and Tatiana.
Thank you.
From the
for having
radio
us.
podcasting class
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you so much for having us.
with Professor Claudine Tomlinson-Bernay. Thank you so much. Until next time, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all the rest at Teaching Change Podcast. And until next time, change some stuff.